It's no good, it's no fair, and they're not going to screw around with the Second Amendment, okay? It's not going to happen.
While North Korea locks and loads against the world, critics are gunning for bear against President Barack Obama on his gun control edicts. Much of his complaint, and much of their complaints, is that Congress is ineffective, too busy screaming at each other to make any real decisions. And someone's got to do something before another mass shooting that could have been avoided. That's what the president's saying. Let's dig out the fact and fiction in there, among other things, with our next guest. Welcome Pennsylvania Republican Congressman, decorated American military veteran, member of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and the Committee on Homeland Security, Congressman Scott Perry. Congressman, pleasure to talk to you again. And boy, I'll tell you, we could talk about this for a couple of hours, but we only have a few minutes. Let's try and get down to some meat here, if you will. Is it not fair to say that at the end of the day, there are improvements that are necessary? There are things that need to be done, but the president, like so many other people, is taking some easy routes here, and they're not taking on the real hard issues that need to be looked at.
And as usual, what the president's doing is assaulting law-abiding Americans for his political narrative and his radical ideology. He's listing San Bernardino and all the other mass shootings that have gripped, rightly so, the America's conscience. But of course, this executive action would have done absolutely nothing to prevent any of those recent occurrences. So one rightfully has to wonder, what is this all about? And it has to do with a radical agenda to disarm America.
Is he right, though, when he says and others say that he takes this action because Congress simply can't stop fighting and whining at each other, and something's got to be done because, and again, I know I'm speaking to your people right now, you and others, that you folks can't get the job done?
Well, what he means by that is we haven't gotten the job done that as he sees it, as he wants it, as he deems it. So we haven't done what he wants. Well, you know what? I would like to not see America and my children to be $20 trillion in debt. But so since he won't do anything about that, should Congress just unilaterally start cutting all the programs that are important to the president? How would he like that? And would that be appropriate in the constitutional system that our framers set up? Absolutely not. And that's exactly and precisely why he shouldn't do what he's doing, just simply because we're not doing it exactly the way he wants it to be done. There's a reason why there's a deliberative process. We don't want some widow who lost her husband to have to be now listed as a gun dealer to sell off her husband's 4 old hunting rifles. That's not, again, there are issues that have to be worked out, and that's why we have Congress in a deliberative process as opposed to a dictatorial process, one guy making decisions from the top based on what he wants.
Then let's look at that deliberative process, Congressman. What is it that you are planning and that you would do right now, first thing that would need to be done?
So we want to get to mental health. There's a bill out there that it's Tim Murphy's from Pennsylvania. A lot of people shouldn't have guns. They're mentally incapable of having them. We need to get to that without infringing upon law-abiding citizens' rights. But let's start the conversation there. Let's talk about crime as opposed to guns. As a matter of fact, every time the president talks about guns, gun sales go way up. Meanwhile, crime is actually down. But if you really want to get to crime, let's make some mandatory sentences for repeat violent offenders who use a gun. Why don't we talk about that? Because it's actually...
Then why won't he do that, Congressman? I got a minute left, and your point's well taken then. Crime is the issue here. Why then does the president not take that on head on? What's he afraid of?
Well, what he's afraid of is his constituency, I suppose, and because this is another ideological thing where it's not really about crime. It has always been about guns. They hate guns, and they hate the Second Amendment. They hate the Constitution as it stands. They see it as outdated, and this is their way to go around that and go around Congress. It's just another vehicle to do what they've always wanted to do, which is disarm America.
What about those people who say that you've got to take a test for a driver's license to drive a car, and a car can be dangerous, but you don't have to take any test to prove when you buy a gun that you can actually handle it? And just to say, I'm a gun owner, and I agree with that.
Well, I would say I don't see the listing of automobile in the United States Constitution as one of your rights. I don't have to take a test to talk to you or, avail myself to the First Amendment or my right to practice my religion or any other right. I don't understand why I must take a test to avail myself to my God-given rights.
20 seconds. Are you ready to dig in your heels right now and go right up against the president and get something done?
We absolutely are. I certainly am. In relation to this issue, I've actually introduced a bill immediately to stop him from taking this action. Now, if Democrats and the president want to vote against the American people, I suppose they can, but we want to put them on notice that that's what they should be doing if they really believe in this cause to the effect that they do.
We're going to check in with you again on this. Congressman Scott Perry, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes of news, The Hard Line, continues.